Get ready to take a look behind the scenes and enter the impossible for the Between Two Minds podcast with our hosts, Judge Mentalist and Bernardo Rodriguez. Can they really tell you what you're thinking?
Good afternoon, everybody. It is Judge Mentalist. I am coming at you solo, of course, with these interviews. I really need to get my pal, my stage partner, Bernardo, to give me a whole nother set of intro audio for the podcast, because I do so many of these as me and then another individual that I'm interviewing. And today is no different. So we are on the run leading up to the 2025 Michigan International Hypnosis Conference. Always a great event. Now and for the second year in Greektown, Detroit, Michigan. Super easy to get to from the airport. So none of the old school Upper Peninsula, up north stuff. Just fly in, take a quick Uber, cab, or have somebody pick you up. So that's the general kind of rundown about the talk. But today we are here to interview another one of the amazing presenters. And one of the great things about the Michigan Hypnosis Conference is that if you are a stage or performance or comedy hypnotist, there are presenters for you. If you are a clinical hypnotist, there are presenters for you. If you don't know where you are in the spectrum, there are absolutely presenters for you. It's a great opportunity to learn, a great opportunity to network, and just really a great place to level up your skills and make some connections and learn about, if you're on one side or the other of that spectrum, learn more about the other side. Learn ways in which incorporating it into what you can do can be beneficial for you. So without further ado, I want to introduce the reason that we're doing this for today, and that is Surinder Gill. Good afternoon, Surinder. How are you?
I'm great. Happy to be here.
So the thing I start all of these with, whether is a little bit of background about you, the elevator pitch on who you are and why you've been invited to come to speak at the Michigan International Hypnosis Conference.
Yeah, I'll do this part quick. So listen, I was a police officer for 24 years. In 2014, I retired as a sergeant, and my wife and I, we ran retail businesses. We had ice cream stores, and I wanted to get into the restaurant business, so we started getting into fish and chips business, of all things. And I thought I wanted to grow to many, many locations. My goal was 100. We got up to 6, and I tapped out, and I said, okay, this is not the lifestyle that I signed up for. So I thought I was going to become a consultant teaching other retail operators how to grow from 1 location to 2 to 3 to 4. That was my plan. That led me to my first my formal exposure to NLP training, neuro-linguistic programming. I'd been a fan of Tony Robbins and stuff since I was in high school, so it wasn't new to me. But sitting in a classroom and taking an actual practitioner training was, and that's it, man. That just changed my life, and I went from there to hypnosis, and then did my master level training, and now I'm a trainer. So I train NLP practitioners. I also train hypnosis, and I have and I see clients one-on-one. What I learned from that practitioner training was that I could sit and talk to people and literally transform their lives through the use of, just very, very effective communication, language, tonality, physiology, the holding of intention, and all of those things, that we talk about in hypnosis. But specifically with NLP, I just found that I could get in and make changes with people without having to drop them into formal trance. Although I use formal trance with, as part of my signature protocol that I do with my clients, I don't rely 100% on it anymore. So there, in a nutshell, how's that for a very quick?
I think it's incredibly comprehensive, and I think that it really kind of spurs further conversation. I mean, one of the things that I love is, and people would think that you'd hate to get this question, but I love getting the question of whether or not hypnosis is real. And I'm a stage performer. I don't, get into the clinical world other than purely from an educational standpoint. I use it as just furthering and expanding my knowledge of everything that we do so that it kind of helps me when I'm on stage. I'm not necessarily using all of these techniques, but the understanding and the mindset. And, I never give the answer that I want to give, which is encapsulated in what you just described. And that is, who cares? Because ultimately, in my world, I'm trying to entertain people. In your world, you're creating change work and positive mindset shift, et cetera, et cetera. And I think you'll agree with me that there's a large percentage of your success that is dependent upon the true and legitimate desire of your client to be changed.
Oh, absolutely.
Without that, I don't care how good you are, you're not getting far. And, so what it is you're doing, what exact modality you're using, again, that question that I'd never publicly answer to anybody, even though, hey, I guess I did, because this is a live stream of who cares? Like, who cares what modality you're using? Is it working? Are you getting the desired goal? Mission accomplished, move on. Now, insurance companies may care. They may have a different perspective of, hey, we're paying you for these modalities and not those, but that's not what we're talking about here. So you're coming to Michigan. You're going to share some really great thoughts with, have you been to the conference before?
No, I haven't. I usually go to one conference a year, and that's the one in Vegas, but I've heard really good things about this one. And I've got a good friend of mine who was there last year, and he said, man, you got to come. So I said, hey, I trust your judgment. So he's going back. And so that tells me all I need to know. So I'm coming.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, it's I will tell you, obviously my perspective is individual and my own. I've had a great time there. I've gotten a lot of valuable insight, learning, connections, the whole kit and caboodle. Like any conference, I think a lot of it, you get out of it what you're willing to put into it. If you're one of those people that wants to be distracted and hang out on the other half of the building that's a casino, well, that's what you're going to get out of it. If you choose to really invest your time in networking with people and learning in these sessions, you're going to get a whole lot out of it. So let's jump right to it. Let's learn some more about your talk.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do, I did a condensed version of this in Las Vegas, and I'm really excited that I got 2 hours here because this is going to be so much more comprehensive. I'm going to use an NLP technique that's called collapse anchors, where in essence what we do is we put a person into a very heightened state, and then it makes them difficult to access the stuck state that they came to resolve. And it's kind of like if this is the stuck state, you neurologically kind of absorb it into positivity, and it creates a massive shift in the way that they think. And so without going into too much detail about the specific technique beyond that, I can tell you that we can morph it into a morning routine. And that's what I do with all of my clients. And I have refined this over the years, and I've got it down to something that produces fantastic results. Many of my clients that quit smoking after one session or never have another panic attack, or they start their weight loss journey. I've had many people that have lost, well, maybe not many, at least 4 or 5 now that have lost over 100 pounds. Many, many, many that have lost close to, though. And many of them say that this is the one go-to thing that they rely on to keep themselves focused. So it's something that I can demo in front of the room. I can show everybody, I can give everybody a copy of a script so they can literally follow along with what I'm doing. And the beauty of having 2 hours is that we can actually break people up into groups, and they can then practice this technique with a client being the coach, and then experience it in the other way around, right? You get your partner to become the coach, and then you become the client and you experience it. And then the final piece is to teach everybody how to utilize this as a morning routine, something that you can do in less than 3 or 4 minutes to set your mind up in the morning so that your RAS, your reticular activating system, is aligned with your goals and your highest priorities and what it is that you want, instead of just rolling out of bed and hoping that, hoping today's better than yesterday.
Gosh, how many people out there flying on that dream?
Oh yeah. So it's I'm looking forward to it. It's a clear winner. I know that my intentions to come back to this convention year after year. So I figured if I've got 2 hours in the very first one, I want to make sure that I bring my best stuff. And this is something that I think people are going to be able to not only use for themselves, but also with clients. And here's the two ways that I use it with clients. Sometimes I'll utilize it in a sales consultation. I just did it the other day. It was a local person, so he came to my office and he said that he wanted to quit smoking. And I said, okay, well, come and let's do a consult. And he was kind of, you know how you can tell in the first 15 or 20 minutes which way it's going? This one wasn't going in the direction that I would have liked. So I pulled out the heavy artillery and I did this technique. I do it in 8 minutes. I just drop him into a trance, just got his hands stuck together, tranced him out, stood him up, said a bunch of confusing stuff, closed his eyes, and then I did this technique. It takes 8 minutes. And that was it. And by the time he was done, he's like, this is amazing. So where's your desire to smoke? He goes, I don't even feel like I smoke. Exactly. I just showed him that it was all in his mind. How did I do it? I attached him to that negative feeling of I'm a smoker and I'll never be able to quit. I put him in such a powerful feeling that was up here that this got absorbed into that. That's the easiest way I can explain it. And in that moment, he's in that heightened state and he feels like he can do anything. And then it makes it a lot easier to say, well, if you can feel like this right now and there's no pills, there's no patches, there's no nicotine gums, it's just me talking to you and you closing your eyes and imagining things, then why wouldn't you be able to quit smoking? You know, and there's someone I signed up to my smoking protocol, which is $3,500. And so this, what I'm going to teach you, can be used in a sales consultation. In the early days, I used it all the time in a sales consultation. Now I use it when I need it. Most times I don't need it. The other way to use it is if you don't use it in the sales consultation, I would do it with every client in their first session with you. Even if all you're doing is using hypnosis and you're selling multiple sessions, definitely do this in the first session, and then teach them the morning routine that goes along with this, which you'll get all everything that you need in a little booklet PDF that explains all of this if you come to my talk. That will keep your client focused between sessions. So when they come back to their second session with you and their third session with you, they're going to be describing all the wonderful results they're getting because they've been doing the morning routine. And it's simple. It's nothing too complex.
Fantastic. Now, so that was kind of my question as you were describing this, and you've talked about this in two phases for us as hypnotists to use and obviously improve ourselves and things that we're working on, but for others. And this morning routine, is this just a almost like a self-hypnosis setup that you're giving them? Is it pre-recorded audio files that you're having them use? Like what exactly is the medium in which one of your clients is going to walk away with to have this, you know, to work on themselves in the intermediate until their next session?
Yeah, absolutely. So I give them an audio file that all it is a reminder of the steps, because there's 5 steps to follow, but it's not something that they listen to while they're actually doing it. It's only if they start to do their morning routine and then they go, oh, geez, which step comes first? Or I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to do now. Now they have an audio file in which I can explain the details, and it's pretty short. And then they turn it off and then they do the morning routine. That's only required for the first 3 or 4 days. The feedback I'm getting is that after they've done it 3 or 4 times, they never have to listen to the audio again. And sometimes they'll do it when they get out of bed. Some of my clients say they just lay in bed when they wake up and they do it before they even get out of bed. Some people like to do it moving, so they like to do it walking. Some people do it in the shower. In essence, what it does is it puts you into a heightened state, and it allows you to identify behaviors that you are going to engage in that day that will lead you towards the outcome. In other words, the goal that you've set for yourself. So it gets the needle moving. And as long as you do this every morning, by the end of the week, you're going to see real progress. You can't not see progress when you take action. The problem is most people will procrastinate and not actually take action. So it's not just about putting yourself into a heightened state, although it is about that. It's not just about becoming aware of where you are right now versus where you want to go, although it is also about that. It's not only about directing your attention towards your goal and your outcome, because that's important. It is about that, but it's not only about that. It's all, see what I mean? There's so much stuff packed into it. It's also about the specific behaviors. And once you do this routine in this way, because your brain doesn't understand the difference between something that's been, vividly imagined and something that's actually occurred, when that time of day arrives where you're supposed to do that thing, whether it's posting a video on Instagram or whether it's going to the gym or whatever it is, it flows. It flows. It just happens. And this is the feedback I get time and time and time again. Is that I'm taking action, I'm getting results. I don't feel like I'm using any willpower. This is amazing. That's what I hear from people, from hundreds of people.
Yeah, it's great because it encapsulates another concept along the lines of when people are, when I'm talking to folks about hypnosis and what it is and what it isn't, one of the things that really turns people for a loop is I will say to them, think about the things that you don't think about doing. And that list is, all of the things that are really being run by the part of your brain and the part of your mind that we're tapping into here. And this sounds like a really great technique to add things easily into that mix for somebody, and it always throws people. It's kind of one of those like glitch in the matrix moments for people when I tell them to think about the things that you don't think about doing. And that list is just, it's ongoing because you can't even really fathom some of those things, like your heart beating and your blood pumping. Like, we don't know what that is. Like, we know what it is, but we don't, from a practical standpoint, but it's happening. I mean, yeah. You're moving, I'm moving, it's happening. Trust me, believe me out there, we're not AI. it's really blood pumping and everything happening. And again, to put more things almost on autopilot is really kind of, it's that routine thing that and getting out of routines or not establishing routines, which is going back to everybody out here kind of vibing on hope to the next step. It just doesn't work, So that's super exciting stuff. And how long have you been doing and utilizing this technique? Because you mentioned using it in sales and then not using it in sales.
Yeah.
And not bringing it out.
6 years. I mean, in one form or another, 6 years. I have really dialed it in the last probably 2. I haven't changed it in over 25, probably 3 years now, because I don't feel like I need to change it anymore. I mean, eventually I probably will. We're always improving it and learning. But it's been a while. I mean, it's working really well. So I've been teaching it this way. I've been using it in this way. And it's fantastic. You get really good results. And I think you're right, by the way, when you talk about these things that you don't even think about, how many times you blink your eyes, or, whether, how do you get the right amount of oxygen to your extremities? And that's one thing. But what about all of the patterns that we run that we don't even think about? And those patterns of behavior are leading to poor results, and we do this naturally, and we don't really sometimes think about how we can interrupt that pattern in a more deliberate way. And NLP is fantastic for that. That's why I just kind of lost my mind when I discovered it. I was like, wow, I had no idea that so much does not need to be left to chance, and I can create whatever results within reason. I can create results just by deciding that I want to do it. And that's another thing that this will do. It's called the Stonewalk Interactive, by the way. That's the name of this technique. And what it does is it interrupts those patterns of behavior that you're not even really thinking about, and you just do them and you're not even sure how it's happening. This is such a powerful way of interrupting that so that a different part of your brain becomes activated. And then when you strengthen that new neural network, eventually it will become the habit, right? It'll become habitual rather than the old thing becoming the habitual way of being. You just have to take responsibility, I think, for creating the new habit, right? Instead of just leaving it to chance. You're thinking and programming yourself anyway. So that what I always tell my clients is you might as well think deliberately for at least a few minutes a day.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And maybe that'll be infectious, and then they'll plan a little bit more and see exponential growth. But who knows? We're not going to change the world in a few sessions here and there, right? Super powerful stuff, amazing stuff. If you needed no other reason as to why you need to come to the Michigan Hypnosis Conference, this is it. And I know that I've said this for other presenters. And I'm going to say this for many, if not all of the future presenters that I interview here, because it's a great group of people that are coming to Michigan that are going to be sharing their experiences. And this is, like you said, this is something and a technique that you've been using for quite some time. So this isn't something that you read in a book and said, oh, if I tweaked it this way, it'd be great. And then you haven't used it, and now you're going to teach it. There's none of that going on here. There's all of that malarkey that sometimes exists in the world is not going to be at the Michigan Hypnosis Conference this September. So you are coming out to learn real road tested stuff with plenty of clients. And I really like, you talk about how you break it out when you feel like you need it using these techniques in sales consults. But if you really think about it, and I'm not going to sit here and say this to try to sway how you operate or how you do this, who goes out and buys a car without test driving it? And that's obviously a little bit more of a spend than a set of, hypnosis course or package or whatever you want to call it. But it's an investment, and it's probably more of an investment than the damn car is, because at least the value is going to increase for you over time. Not the car, but you want to test drive it. You want to feel it. You want to know, even if you're not getting immediate results, so to speak. But a lot of people, I'm sure, come into your doors and have never been, at least in a way in which they're observing, in this alternate state. And just
sure.
Feeling it and experiencing it is in and of itself transformative, I think, for many, many people.
It is. And my decision to not use it as much in sales consults is based more on the time constraints. Because if I'm nearing the half-hour mark and I know that, okay, this is fine, this person's going to sign up, I just won't bother because I know I'm going to do it in the first session.
Right.
If I feel like, okay, maybe it's not quite going in the direction that I would like, then I have to start squeezing a little bit of the pre-talk in conversationally to ensure that when I do this technique, it gets the required results. So an 8-minute technique turns into 20 minutes. Like, I don't just say, okay, I'm going to switch gears now, do the hand clasp and let's go. We want to make sure that we plant some of those seeds to ensure that when we do the exercise that we get the result. So, I mean, once another thing I always tell my students is that the work is done before it starts.
Yeah.
Right. Like the work is done before we do the actual technique. It's all in the setup and creating the expectancy in the client that something magical is going to happen. Then they'll do all the heavy lifting and they'll make it happen. Yeah. But for someone starting out, and especially somebody who doesn't have a real format for a sales call, like I'm pretty regimented with how I do mine. The results are really good, so I stick to it. Somebody who's new and starting out, I would recommend they just, go in and just do this and say, how do you feel? And when the person says, wow, I feel like I could do anything right now, and say, well, why don't you come and experience more of that? That'll be enough to get you, a pretty high close rate, especially for things like smoking and weight loss.
Yeah. I mean, I see it all the time, like in scenarios, and this is, jumping into the performance world, when you're doing like fairs and festivals, so you're having multiple shows a day, there will be people that come back, people that came to the show, volunteered in the show, and just, they are driven to that experience. They come back, and literally through the course of the week, there are sometimes people that'll jump into like 5 or 6 shows. So that kind of, getting that taste of the action and like, ooh, this is doing a thing. I want to come back. I need to come back. It's, and knowing that it's going under the guidance of somebody that knows what they're doing into a positive direction, for that person and what they're looking for and the change that they're looking to make. And I love how, you can use this for basically anything that anybody's dealing with. I mean, you've run through a fairly wide spectrum, although common things that people look for in this type of work, but it's a wide range of utility there, which is really, really great.
Yeah, no, for sure. When I started out, it was mostly smokers, anxiety, weight loss. Then it's grown. Like, I mean, misophonia, agoraphobia, like, it doesn't seem to matter what it is. My feeling when I talk to people is just to find out, is there some type of psychosis here, Or is this an ineffective thinking situation? Like, did you think your way into this? Because if you thought your way into this, I can help you think your way out of it. And the NLP combined with hypnosis, I use like deep trance hypnosis as an adjunct to the NLP work. It can fix a lot of those things as long as you pick and choose your clients carefully. If they thought their way into it, they can think their way out of it. They just need someone to guide them in how to do it. And the protocol I use, believe it or not, it's quite similar from a person who gets aggravated because somebody's slurping their soup in a restaurant, to somebody who eats sugar at night, to somebody who's addicted to Instagram reels and wastes hours laying in bed doing it. Man, it's the way that they think, their inability to manage their state at the core of it, and getting people to that place where they can have that emotional control creates flexibility in their behavior. And then all of a sudden they have choice, right? Then it's like, do I want to pick up my phone, or do I want to go out and take the dog for a walk around the block? Once that choice is there, people tend to make good choices.
Yeah, and I love it how the morning routine element of this is effectively you training your clients to train themselves over a period of time, which is really a brilliantly layered kind of way to go about doing this, and just to kind of see it so bold and so obvious, but then not, it is a really, really cool concept. So there's a lot to look forward to in September. If for whatever reason you have not registered for this conference, I think I recently saw a post from Dan that the prices go up next month. So you basically have this week and the weekend, I believe, to get your registration at the conference at the current price. I don't know what it goes up to because I don't run the conference. I'm just doing doing these interviews, but definitely jump in there, save some money, because whatever it is, it's going to go up to, it's not there today. And as you said, you're booking clients for package sessions in the 3,500 and more range.
Yeah.
So again, here we are. This is a theme that's common with all of these talks, and I don't think it's ever going to end with any of these talks, that you will get more than the cost of the conference in value just here, just with this one talk, and then everything else is bonus. So there's a ton. I think Dan said over 30 presenters over the course of the weekend, a wide variety of performance and clinical and everywhere in between, which is really, really fantastic. So that website and everything is in the description. So even if you're watching this on replay, just drop down there in the description. You're going to see how to jump on there and register for the conference. Any other thoughts before we let people go?
No, I'm just looking forward to meeting everybody. And if anybody wanted to reach out to me and had any questions, they could. Maybe you can drop my surindergill.com is my website.
Okay.
Yeah. And if you want to see a bunch of videos, I've got hundreds of testimonial videos on my YouTube channel, Surinder Gill Hypnosis.
Do me a favor, shoot me an email with both of those, and then I will go back in. So if you are seeing this on a Facebook replay, this info may not be in the description, but if you are on YouTube watching the replay, within moments of him sending it to me, it will be there. So if you're watching this after the fact, if you've missed it or whatever, then reach out, because this is really, really great stuff. I mean, there's just so many uses for it, and it seems, like you said, it's like an 8-minute chunk of the session. So it's great. It's not super time consuming. It almost sounds like in certain scenarios you can almost utilize this impromptu. I mean, obviously there's some build up to it, but everything we do has build up to it. Yeah. So yeah, great stuff. Thank you so much for spending some time with me talking about this. Again, Michigan Hypnosis Conference. That link is in the comments. Get your registration before the price goes up. It's always a great time. This year's going to be no different.
Thank you very much, man.
All right. I'll see you guys all in Detroit. All right. Be well.
See ya.
Thank you for tuning in to the Between Two Minds Behind the Scenes podcast. Be sure to follow us on social media under Between Two Minds with the number 2 instead of TWO, or under Enter the Impossible. Thank you, and we hope to see you back for the next episode.